Hey guys, a little bit different perspective than you're used to seeing from me here from our usual videos, sitting here in our live stream studio, so to speak, which is literally just a turn 90 degrees in this room. But I wanted to share with you guys the Predictions League. We had a small little group test this out last year. We did it for the NFPL in a small group a few years prior. And I think that this is just a really fun game to engage the community. And I think you guys will have a lot of fun. It's a great opportunity to trash talk as you're guessing correctly and prove you are the Nostradamus of futsal. Let's take a look at how last year's results looked week to week and explain the game and see if you guys are interested in participating this year. Let's dive right in. All right, guys, I'm down here in the corner, but the main thing to view, of course, is the screen. So take a look at this week one start to FCS last year, which saw Detroit Imperial host Jenga. We put out the Predictions League to our fans in the Discord and had them predict the winner. So at the time, we had a 5-person competition amongst us, and the teams voted within the Discord. There's a channel I'll show you guys later at the end of this description on where you can place your vote. And we saw a bit of a split between the fans. Jenga's return to futsal at the FCS after taking a year off from NFPL. And facing Detroit Imperial, people unsure what to expect from both teams. And we saw 3 votes actually for Detroit here. And then we saw 2 votes for Jenga. Now you'll notice in this raw tally section, there's also an option for a draw. So if you think the teams will tie, then you can also pick that as an option. I will admit that this option is usually unlikely for futsal. And there's really no bonus for guessing a draw being so risky. But if you consider that the 5 votes that we do have here and look down to the crowd probability, that means that 60% of the fans, based on those votes, thought Detroit would win. 40% thought that Jenga would win. Now, why that's important is when we look at the predictions table in week 1 and the results from that, Jenga at Detroit won that game. The people who guessed correctly get a point. The people who guess incorrectly don't get any points. Now, because it was a split decision, we have what we call outsider points. This is what makes the Predictions League interesting. So if you pick an underdog or pick someone that is less likely to win and you are correct in that prediction and they pull off the upset, you also are rewarded. So because 40% of the crowd voted against Detroit, the correct choices also get a 40% bonus, a 0.4 bonus of a point, to give them a grand total of 1.4 points for this particular correct answer. Little complicated, I know, but you'll see how that makes more sense further on. So as you can see here, the results for the week show our correct points and our outsiders, which left 3 people tied with 1.4 points. So here's why those aggregate points matter later with the underdogs. We've jumped to week 14 where there was an upset amongst the fans. As you guys can see here, 3 people voted for Lansing, 1 person voted for Imperial, 1 no vote, which left us with a 75% vote for Lansing City in this particular week. Imperial wins. So the person who won choosing the underdog, which was Rudy Boy Rudy, is the only person that scored points in this week and got a massive bump with this 3/4 of a point, which helped him with some catch up that he needed throughout the rest of the season. So really important to pick your places and pick your underdogs. Another thing that may make this interesting is when there were really tight matches coming up and you split the vote, and you may see an extra half a point, or like we saw in that week 1 example, a 0.4 point that could really rack up over the course of several weeks and get you ahead in total score. Another reason this is a great tab to look at is it shows the total outsider points racked up throughout the regular season here. So you have your standard correct choices. So in this case, using Rudy still as the example, he had 11 correct picks up to this point, including this week. And then he had a 1.95 bonus from his outsider picks that got him extra points. So really, he's sitting at 12, almost 13 points at this point in the contest. So those underdogs become really important if you want to really move up and down the standings and get ahead of your competition. we're bouncing around a little bit, but it's for the sake of examples and continuity. Now we're sitting in week 3 as an example where there were 3 games that week. So you can see how points can really rack up over multiple games, which we'll see a lot of this regular season. We're taking a look. You can see here that there's actually a couple different scenarios. So Lansing and Jenga, a split decision. You also have a Midwest vote here against 4 Imperial votes that shows how that can create that lopsided adjustment to the outsider points that are potentially available. And then you also notice Olay played Midwest this week. Now, when we take a look at the predictions themselves, you'll see here how people racked up points. So Luke had a really great week that week where he guessed correctly. So did Bressy with 1 point each with his Jenga pick and his Imperial pick. A total of 0.2 outsider points based on other incorrect votes. But this is the anomaly right here. No points in the Olay Midwest pick, as that ended up being a draw. So the one time that draw really came into play over the course of last season, blanked everybody in that match. And then you can see here the total points racked up and how it affected everybody's scores. I used to have filters in here that would adjust first to second place, to third place, to fourth place, and so on. But the filters and the formulas as it went on throughout the spreadsheet got a little finicky, so I opted to just leave it alone. And you guys will see me post the predictions results manually based off of this map. I will also share a screenshot so you guys know I'm not bugging with it, since I participate with it as well. But as you can see here, this is kind of the total layout of what different curveballs you could get week to week as you try and guess your best predictions over the course of the season. So guys, here is the Predictions League channel in our Discord. So if you guys aren't in Discord already, you've got to check it out. It's a great tool for building a community out and having some fun games, meeting some new people. As you can see here, this is a live screenshot of the Futsal News Discord, which I encourage all you guys to join. It does announcements anytime I post a video or a live stream. We also share live stream links here of live games that we find so we can watch along together if we'd like. General discussions, any kind of news that we find that isn't really video worthy but worth sharing. And then, of course, Predictions League right here above the self promo, where you can even advertise your own stuff if you'd like within the channel. So most important, though, of course, for this video is the Predictions League. As you can see here, I will post final results. And as you can see, last year, our final results were a little insane. Top 3 places were decided by literally a quarter of a point. Another reason those outsider points are so important as we get towards the final run. So I actually won last season, and I felt a little guilty about it since I run the contest. So I gave a potentially valuable prize, as I jokingly call it, to the second place winner. As you can see here, I'm in streamer mode, so it's got everybody's names abbreviated. But the second place winner from Predictions League last year actually won a game-worn jersey of his favorite team, and we were able to get that shipped out to him, albeit way too late, and I apologize to him again for that. If he decides to share his name, I'll let him do that on his own in the comments. But as you guys can see here, there was a lot of chat about what was going on and why we were deciding who we were picking for, a lot of banter back and forth. And then we actually have every FCS team's logo listed as an emoji, or I think they call them stickers in Discord, but I'm going to call it an emoji for the sake of consistency here, so that you guys can post your picks. So in this case, we had Olay playing multiple times in this particular week, this particular screenshot. So that's why you see multiple picks here for Olay. But if we scroll through, you can see where folks were posting all their different picks week to week. And I even outline it here so you know who to choose from and get things posted. Here's a great example of how I post the standings, as well as a quick story on the teams. So if you're not familiar with FCS, I do my best to help you guys out and put a little background behind what's been going on. I have the unique distinction of talking to these teams on a week-to-week basis and talking to my production team and knowing what the conversations look like with the teams, how strong they look heading in. So since I know that, and some of the other people that participate in Predictions League are involved with FCS, I try to give you guys that transparency to keep it completely a level playing field. So I always try and do a write-up for you guys so that you know exactly what's going on and what's going on behind the scenes, a little bit of the story there, and then we come back with a winner. So there you have it, guys, a crash course on the Predictions League. Who is going to be the winner this season? Who's going to take home the potentially valuable prize, as I like to say? And what will the potentially valuable prize be? This last season, it was a game-worn jersey from the person's team that they cheer for in the FCS. Who knows what it could be next time? You've got to participate to find out. So do you have what it takes to show that you know the most about FCS and futsal in the United States? Can you get the ultimate glory and the bragging rights? And can you take the heat in the Predictions League channel of the Discord as we talk trash and talk votes week to week? This is a lot less involved than your fantasy football team. There's no reason why you can't throw in a pick once a week and see what shakes out. Make sure you guys join us in our Discord, participate in the game this season for Predictions League, and always let me know what you guys think in the comments about this game. Maybe there's some confusion. I know it's kind of weird with those outsider points and how they're explained. Maybe I wasn't very clear. Make sure and let me know. I would be more than happy to go over it in a different way to make sure that you guys feel comfortable and want to participate. And let me know how we can improve the game too. I know one of the things that came up last season was finding a way to weigh draws to be worth more points if you guess them correctly. Something I'm trying to figure out how I can change the mathematics on that to give you extra points, but haven't quite figured that out yet. Always looking for ways to improve. Let us know what you guys think. I can't wait to see you in the Discord. And until I see you again, don't forget to play with your soul.